What's up everyone? Welcome to another lesson. Today we step into Midjourney and Midjourney only. Actually, we will spend next 4 lessons in Midjourney. And I would never ever suspect I would teach Midjourney and prompting, but here we are. And we'll essentially create or try to create people with any position, style, activity and camera angle that we like. It's an ambitious subject, but we'll give it a shot. We'll cover the basics today and more advanced tips in the next one. So without further ado, let's get at it.
Alright, before we even start, I'm not gonna lie, it's a difficult task. Choosing the right character in the right position with the right expression is not easy. It's challenging for 2 reasons actually. First, we often don't know exactly how it should look like. Artists are usually not photographers in fashion industry working with people. And secondly, technology doesn't really help us. I mean, working with Midjourney can be frustrating at times, but yeah. It's a tough task, we won't lie to you, but we'll show you some examples of what we've managed to do so far, what we think works here. We'll try to make a really short and sweet introduction so we're on the same page. Okay, we have a web version of Midjourney here. We can also use it on Discord, but this one is so much better. We have the user interface, it's so clean. But anyway, we have a couple of settings here, and for the most part we leave everything at default. We keep the square aspect ratio. It seems to produce the best results from our tests. Sometimes you might want to switch to portrait, but that's at last resort. There's no real need to do it. As you can see, we go with the newest model. For our purposes that should be fine. When it comes to aesthetic aspects, we generally aim to keep the stylization on the lower side. I think 100 is a sweet spot. Sometimes you can go even lower, but be careful about it. You might start getting some odd results depending on the prompt. When it comes to weirdness or variety, I wouldn't change anything here. We might try, but we are mostly working with the prompt rather than those settings. Apart from it, everything stays the same. At least for now. We'll show you one trick to change here, but that's later to come. Perfect then. Let's move on to generating people and start with the simplest scene in my opinion, which is this one here. We want the character to have relatively minimal interaction with the environment, just standing here in the space between these two counters. Perhaps to make the task a bit more interesting, we'll try to add an espresso in his hand. So that's the goal. Let's move back to Midjourney and just a little side note here. We'll create this prompt step by step, so don't worry if something doesn't work in the beginning. We want to show you the whole process of building this prompt from scratch. I'll type elegant casual man standing and sipping espresso. Basically the simplest description of who it is and what he is doing, at least at the start. While it is being generated, I want to point out that we don't need the whole character. We don't need the full figure. We also don't need perfect lighting. This might seem a bit counterintuitive, but you will see why in a moment. What we mainly need is a body fragment in roughly the correct perspective and, most importantly, performing the right action, which in this case is drinking coffee. Okay, these are the results we have, and they are quite varied. And even though those results are pretty realistic, oftentimes they are not. From our experience, Midjourney approaches characters almost like illustrations. The fourth guy looks like that, especially his face. Very often we have strange glows there. That's why the first modification that works very well for us is adding a phrase editorial photography to the prompt. Here's another batch, and I think each generation looks equally realistic now, with no bad apples. Perfect, moving on. We have a couple of errors, and black and white image is one of them, but we will solve another problem first. We'd like the character to be facing the window rather than the camera. And to do that, we can try adding phrases like standing turned back, generally turned back, turned side, things like that. Those kind of phrases guide Midjourney quite substantially from our tests, so let's try it out. Okay, and this is how it looks right now. We are getting some cool generations. Number 3 could be a good contender, so we'll keep that in mind. But at the same time, we've come across the same problem as before. We are getting some black and white images, which are the result of editorial photography part of the prompt, I assume. It has a huge influence because the editorial or studio photography is often either dark or entirely black and white, so let's add color to the prompt. Okay, there's some color. we are moving forward. One thing is that the characters are viewed from the back, so we'll change that to turned side. I will run some tests, and as a last trick, I also want to run some prompts with Studio included. From our previous test, we noticed it makes the background a bit simpler without any interior context, which we are getting now. I did 3 additional generations this time. You can see their prompts on the right. I think it's heading in a great direction now. The only small thing is, we are getting dark generations. So as a last test though, I will add the adjective bright to photography. And for now, I would do a few more iterations again, both side and back, and I hope that at this stage we'll be able to choose something that we like. And these are our results. There are many cool directions here, and I think we don't need to generate more. We have many to choose from. Everything is bright, the activity and the style is there. There are small errors, but nothing major. Sometimes the hands are messed up, sometimes the light is not perfect, but honestly we could easily change it in Photoshop. The same as we did with the Mediterranean example in the previous chapter. That's why showing that lesson was so important. But anyway, we have many good ones, and let's choose this one. And of course we don't have the full character, but that's okay. At this point we are slowly bringing this lesson home. I will click pan, and this should generate the character from the bottom. We wait and boom. That's why we don't need everything perfect straight from the prompt. We can always extend it easily. We can actually change quite a lot of things, we just need to get a solid starting position. You'll see more on that in other examples. Now, the last thing to do is to upscale and get a higher quality generation. Okay, and now we have our final image. We can download it, and while we're at it, there's nothing stopping us from running it through Magnific with our standard settings. It will definitely enhance the details a bit. Fast forward. We are back in Photoshop, we have our upscaled rendering. It looks super sharp. And actually we could stop here, but I want to point out one last thing. Anything can be fixed in post. Just as we did with the Mediterranean example. Even though we are already in a good place, we can't forget that it can be pushed even further. And in this particular case, there are some really annoying details we'd like to get rid of. We can change the cap, turn that weird dirty foam into something more coffee-like. Of course we use Firefly, it's the quickest solution we can use. You can change whatever you like here, piece by piece. You should be open to those possibilities at this stage as well, just think outside the box. Sweet, that's all for the Espresso guy. I think this is a great starting point to eventually build a 3D model from it.
And that's about it. Pretty solid lesson and nice introduction to this world of prompting. You will have lots more in the next lessons, so thanks for now and see you in the next one.